Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving headfirst into the absolutely terrifying yet totally fascinating world of hyper-fast custom scooters. Seriously, we're going to look at what happens when you take a vehicle designed to, putter around a grocery store parking lot and just inject it with enough horsepower to rival a supercar.
When the guys over at Grind Hard Plumbing Co. finished building their heavily modified Honda Ruckus, their genuine reaction was, "This is the first thing that's actually really scared me." And honestly, when you see the mechanics of what they actually built, you're going to completely understand why. So, what exactly does happen when you cram a 180 horsepower engine inside a tiny Honda Ruckus? Today, we're going to explore the mechanical build of this crazy garage project, the downright terrifying physics that threaten to literally tear it apart, and the strict legal realities of making a tiny scooter go outrageously fast. Section 1. The 18 horsepower sleeper scooter. Let's break down exactly what went into this thing, because the contrast here is just wild. You've got a massive superbike engine sitting in a stripped-down frame that's missing some pretty basic safety features. I mean, they took a 2008 CBR 1000 engine, which is packed with all the wiring and sensors you'd expect on a high-performance sport bike, and just jammed it into a lightweight scooter frame. They rigged up a ZX6R master cylinder and rear brakes, but get this, the machine has absolutely no rear suspension. None! Oh, and the front brake? It's just a factory drum brake about the size of your fist. Couple that with a 6-speed gearbox and a throttle that basically acts like a light switch, because the whole rig weighs practically nothing, and yeah, it's intense. As you can imagine, firing up an engine, pumping out twice the power per cc of a standard Ruckus, makes for an earth-shaking, incredibly sketchy first ride. The builders actually noted that just turning the key vibrated the earth so much they could feel the sound echoing right up through their feet and into their chests. Throw in some immense engine braking that basically locks the rear tire the second you let off the throttle, and, well, it was a handful, to say the least.
Section 2. The physics of speed.
But why exactly does a high-speed scooter feel so incredibly dangerous, mathematically speaking? It's not just in the rider's head. There is hard science explaining why pushing a scooter to these limits feels like a dance with disaster. So once you push a two-wheeled frame past 100 kilometers per hour, a phenomenon called weave kicks in and starts destabilizing the vehicle. Academic research defines weave as this combination of steering oscillations, yaw, roll, and lateral motion. It operates at frequencies below 4 to 5 hertz. In plain English, the entire body of the scooter naturally wants to slither side to side 4 to 5 times every single second. When a scooter frame hits highway speeds, this weave becomes lightly damped, which basically leaves the chassis wildly unstable. And then, things are compounded by wobble. This is a rapid steering oscillation that perfectly explains why the builder got such squirrely handling just from feathering the throttle. Wobble happens at a slightly higher frequency. We're talking the handlebars violently shaking back and forth 6 to 10 times a second. In a super lightweight scooter with massive power, all that torque to the rear wheel can easily lift or unweight the front tire. And the second that front tire makes solid contact again, boom, it triggers this absolutely terrifying wobble.
Let's map this out to make it a bit clearer. Imagine the baseline stability of a standard chassis cruising at a highly manageable 20 miles per hour, or about 36 kilometers per hour. The variables here, yaw, roll, lateral displacement, and steering angle, are pretty evenly distributed. At this speed, the physics acting on a standard frame are nice, balanced, and stable. No big deal.
But now, contrast that with hitting 180 kilometers per hour. The yaw, roll, and steering angles just violently shift. The vectors change drastically. At these speeds, the physics acting on a tiny, lightweight frame become a literal nightmare. The phase and magnitude of these forces mean that any slight bump in the road, a tiny rider's twitch, or even just aerodynamic drag can instantly upset the entire vehicle. To put it simply, academic research proves what we all kind of suspect. Slapping a massive superbike engine onto a frame the size of a shopping cart is a recipe for disaster. A proper high-speed motorcycle frame relies on immense lateral bending and torsional stiffness just to keep those weave and wobble frequencies in check. A stock scooter frame, even if you throw in a few extra tack welds, simply isn't engineered to handle those violent kinetic forces.
Section 3. Hardware for high speeds.
So knowing all this terrifying physics, how do you upgrade the hardware to actually survive these speeds? Well, it's not just about beefing up the frame. All the consumable parts of the scooter are being pushed way beyond what they were designed for. Take tire speed ratings, for example. A standard scooter tire usually has a J rating. meaning it's strictly built for a max of 62 miles per hour. If you try to push 100 miles per hour on those, the extreme centrifugal force will literally expand and tear the rubber apart while you're riding. So builders have to hunt down specialized rubber. They're forced to upgrade to at least an L-rated tire, which handles 75 miles per hour, or find even higher motorcycle-grade tires, if they can somehow figure out a way to fit them onto those tiny rims.
Furthermore, doubling or tripling the power output puts an immense amount of strain on the scooter's continuously variable transmission, specifically the drive belt. Think about it. That belt isn't just carrying the weight of the rider anymore, it's taking on the massive torque of a heavily upgraded motor. Tuners are constantly forced to choose between a flexible reinforced belt, like the Molasi Special Belt, which keeps shifting smooth, or an incredibly stiff Kevlar belt. The Kevlar one gives you maximum strength against snapping, sure, but because it's so rigid, it completely changes the way the variator operates.
The big takeaway here is that an engine swap is definitely not a one-and-done deal. Because you've completely altered the fundamental physics of the machine, all those moving parts are going to wear out significantly faster. There's a much higher tendency for belts, clutches, and bearings to just snap. Keeping one of these hyper-fast scooters running safely means rigorous, frequent servicing and constantly buying high-quality, expensive performance parts.
Section 4. Is it street legal? Okay, so the big question. Can you actually ride a build like this on the road? When you look at the regulations, a scooter capable of hitting 100 miles per hour completely shatters legal limits pretty much everywhere. In most U.S. states, motorized scooters are legally capped at just 20 miles per hour. In the European Union, the general cap is 25 kilometers per hour. Germany, they strictly cap them at 20 kilometers per hour, plus you need a special insurance sticker. And in the UK, riding a privately owned scooter on public roads is outright illegal, unless you're part of specific rental trials. So what's the broader legal reality of all this? Well, exceeding local speed limits by building a sleeper scooter automatically strips away its classification as a low-speed mobility device. Basically, if you get caught on one of these, the authorities are going to treat you exactly as if you're riding a completely unregistered, uninsured motorcycle. And you know what that means. Heavy fines, they'll probably impound the vehicle, and you could face some serious legal action just for lacking the proper motorcycle license, plates, and insurance.
Section 5. The Formula One Scooter.
Finally, let's look at how professional automotive engineers tackle this exact same 100-mile-per-hour challenge. Because if a garage-built ruckus is the chaotic, kind of terrifying way to reach these speeds, what does the perfected version actually look like? Well, instead of welding a superbike engine to a Honda Ruckus, former Formula One engineers from Williams built something called the Turbo. It's an insanely fast machine designed specifically for urban mobility. We're talking something engineered from the ground up by minds entirely obsessed with speed, precision, and aerodynamics.
And the specs on this thing are just mind-blowing. It utilizes 24,000 watts of electrical power, fed by an 1,800 watt-hour battery. Because it's engineered with aerospace-grade materials, get this, it actually boasts a power-to-weight ratio higher than a Bugatti Veyron supercar. No joke. Plus, to keep all those high-end electronics from completely melting at 100 miles per hour, they had to utilize F1-inspired aerodynamic air intakes for high-speed cooling. But, as you'd probably expect, that level of precision engineering comes with a pretty staggering price tag. The Turbo will set you back $29,500. I guess that's the premium you pay to engineer the deadly wobble and weave out of a 100-mile-per-hour scooter, rather than just winging it with a welder in your garage.
As its creator state, it's not a scooter. It's a Formula One dream reimagined for the street. And that perfectly captures the massive gap here. You've got the sketchy, adrenaline-fueled garage build that literally vibrates the earth on one hand, and a finely tuned, highly balanced collector's item on the other. Sure, both can hit insane speeds, but they exist in completely different universes of engineering.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, it really makes you think. Whether you're slapping a CBR 1000 engine onto a Ruckus in your garage or dropping 30 grand on an F1 engineered rocket, just because we can push a tiny grocery getter to 100 miles per hour, does it mean we actually should? I hope this breakdown gave you a deeper appreciation for the wild mechanics, the totally unyielding physics, and the strict laws governing the absolute razor's edge of extreme scooter modification.